All right, well, let's dive into today's topic. And I wanted to kind of prime us with this idea around acceptance. That, again, will be the topic for next week's masterclass. And I just thought I'd start with a story and how a particular phrase really helps me when it comes to acceptance. And so I want to share a couple, well, it's been a long time ago, but most of my life, I felt pretty confident that I was not going to have kids. I didn't want kids. I wasn't interested. I really wanted to spend all my time and money traveling and exploring, and felt like kids would hinder that, and as they do. And so went through my 20s like that, went through my 30s like that, really built up a set of friends who had that same belief because, at those ages, people were really kind of moving into parenting or not, as that happens in that age group. And so those who had children and were raising them typically weren't able to, go to Thailand for a month and hike the Kalalau in Maui and do all the amazing things I wanted to do. And so my friend base really became very like-minded people. And then 38 hit, and what came pounding into my eardrums was my biological clock, and started my journey with childhood and wanting children and raising children at a very late phase in my life. And as I, into my early 40s, invited our second child into our life, what I really started realizing is, my friendships were dwindling. And what that meant for me was these amazing people that I had spent decades with traveling around the world weren't all that interested in kids, and specifically mine. And they were off doing really fun things, and I was doing fun things too, but from, the standpoint of diapers and diaper bags and car seats. And so my life had really changed. And with that, my friendships really changed. And I felt really, what I found is I was getting really resentful. I was really angry at the distance or the lack of their involvement in my life, or including me in things, and really sat with that. My oldest is 10 and a half. And so it was a lot of resentment, a lot of years of not really knowing what to do with that. And then I was listening to a podcast, and I don't even remember what, probably 10%. That's what I listen to a lot when I drive. I love it. And somebody had entered the phrase, rather than let it go, because that was what I kept telling myself, Tiffany, let it go, whatever, their life had changed. My life has changed. Their life has changed. We're in different paths. Just let it go, let it go, let it go. And they replaced that with let it be. And if you've been with me for a while, you've heard me talk about this, that power of the phrase, let it be. And there was just something that shifted in me when I just could let it be. I didn't have to do anything. I just needed to accept what is. Can I accept this? And I remember it was this moment, I had my kids, we were on a car trip, so they had their, eyeballs glued to their iPads. And I listened to that, and I turned it off, and I pretty much cried from Eugene up to Portland, because I could, and not have my kids involved or worried about me or wondering what was going on. And what I noticed when I said, let it be, was grief came pouring in. That when I could let it be, I could land safely in what is, and stop railing against it, stop blaming, stop resenting, and instead just land in a feeling that was within me. And as I landed in that and accepted that, I could go, this isn't anger. This is grief of a loss. And that just is. Those are natural consequences of choices I've made, that those folks never changed. I did. And there was a grief that occurred for me, and I stopped blaming. I stopped being angry, and I could meet those folks where they are in life in a very different way than I could when I was just trying to let it go, let anger go, it just really shifted for me, this idea of acceptance, accepting how I feel about things that are not within my control. So letting what is in my control be within my power, letting what is not within my control be within my power in terms of how I interact with that, how I accept my feelings about that, the boundaries I set with that. So we're going to focus on that. And I'm going to, as we begin to close out 2022 and move into 2023, just exploring what might be present for you that you just want to let it be. So go ahead and close your eyes. You can also just take a soft gaze, meaning maybe your eyelids are lowered a little bit, slightly opened, without really focusing too hard on any particular thing. And just feel yourself come into this body that is in this space, that is in this moment. Just be here, land here, feel your feet, wiggle your toes, feel your hands, wiggle your fingers. Feel your breath as you breathe in on this cold, crispy morning, and feel your warm breath on your lips as you exhale. And then bring your attention to your thoughts right now, and perhaps even your feelings, one or the other or both. As I shared my story of acceptance, and this idea of letting it go versus letting it be. Notice what's present for you. Who comes to mind? What comes to mind? What feelings surround that? Exploring what it would be like to let it be. Maybe with something that you find challenging, something perhaps new or something you've held on to, maybe for months, maybe for decades. And when we say let it be, we don't mean accept poor behavior. We don't mean accept toxic relationships, behavior, situations. What let it be means is that we bring awareness to what is within my control and what is not. Somebody's behavior, somebody's words, somebody's choices are not within our control. And there is a lot that is within our control. So when we stop blaming or shaming, resenting, trying to control what we can't control, what we land in is our experience of that thing that is outside of our control. Let it be means we land in that. Let it be means I have grief over this. I'm lonely. I'm sad. I'm jealous. I can get deeper into my own experience. And when I do that, I can then explore it. What are the thoughts behind that? Are those all true? Are those all facts? How can I support myself in this loneliness, in this grief? Where do I feel that in my body? Can I let it be? Can I accept this loss? And it's really the genesis for change is acceptance. Feel your breath again in your body. Feel the rise and the fall of the chest, the upper back, and the belly. Wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers, and slowly open your eyes. Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much. Lisa, thanks for your comments. Have a